Hey everybody, Jason of GhostbustersNews.com coming at you today, and today's review is a bit out of the norm because it's going to be a book. Yes, there's a brand new Ghostbusters themed book out there. I mean, there are countless brand new Ghostbuster themed books. I mean, if you don't believe us, I mean, just take your pick. There's tons on the market right now. But the one we're talking about is called Ghostbusters Collectibles, written by Matt McNabb. Now, for some of you out there, that name may sound familiar, and it should. Matt runs GhostbustersCollector.com. Now, here's what the book looks like right there. Features some Diamond Select toy items right on the cover there. Of course, the Slimer Bank, as well as also the most recent Egon Spangler and Dr. Peter Venkman figures. And we're also guaranteed that it's going to have a foreword by Mr. Dan Aykroyd, Ray Stantz himself. Now, upon opening up, don't get too excited here because the foreword isn't that big. It's only like half a page from Dan, but he does mention the Fearsome Flush action figure, so there is that. Now, the first chapter focuses in on what else the original 1984 Ghostbuster film. We're treated to some pretty rare items like the Ghost in the Can and some massive just Ghostbuster floor puzzles featuring Gozer and Terror Dogs. Now, at the beginning of this chapter, we got 2 full pages full of text. Once we get to the products, what we have is just a large-scale image, which they are good quality, followed up by a sentence or 2 underneath. It's not a price guide or an almanac or anything like that. It's not going to give you a long, note-by-note story of each toy line. You get a page or 2 if you're lucky on each chapter, and then it just breaks into each toy. So if you're a fan of looking at old action figures, hey, this book is for you. If you were expecting something else, like maybe interviews with some of the creators behind the toys, or sculptors, or designers, this isn't for you. Chapter 1 ends with a brief look at the first Ghostbusters video game, and of course that leads into Chapter 2, which is all about the real Ghostbusters. Now let me just say, this chapter is nearly 50 pages long. On a book that's 96 pages, that's massive, that's huge! And obviously, if we're talking the real Ghostbusters, there's definitely a reason for that. That franchise was milked left and right. I mean, we had Slimer toothpaste, we had Ghostbuster action figures for years upon years. But yeah, this chapter even takes a look at things like the real Ghostbusters Happy Meals. I mean, the telephone, the bed sheets. I almost feel like the real Ghostbusters toy line deserves a book in itself. Take what they have here and just add to it. Let's talk to some of the designers, some of the creators. This was one of the most dominant toy lines in the 80s. I'd love to find out more about it. After Chapter 2, we head to Chapter 3, and I was surprised because it's, let's go Ghostbusters, the Filmation's Ghostbusters. Pretty short chapter, really just chronicles a few knickknacks here and there, and mainly their toy line. But I'm glad to see it included. I was a Filmation nut when I was a kid. Loved the Ghostbusters, loved He-Man. I have no problem with this being involved in the Ghostbuster book. I mean, it is Ghostbusters. It's not Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis Ghostbusters, but it's Ghostbusters. The next chapter, it's Ghostbusters 2 and all the amazing tie-ins that came with it. Like the video games, the activity books, and who can forget the promotion they ran with Hardee's? I mean, all those like packages that your food came in that were Ghostbuster themed. And that Ghostbusters 2 themed sundae. I mean, it had like the green, I think, bubblegum flavored topping to it. Nobody ever seems to talk about that. I'm sure it existed. I remember eating it. You know what? When it comes to this brand new Ghostbusters film coming out, I think it's Hardee's that dropped the ball. Hardee's, just bring back my Ghostbuster themed sundae. That's all I really want. Chapter 5 gets a little extreme as we take a look at the Extreme Ghostbusters line, and the highlight of this chapter is definitely some of the prototypes. Our look at the Garrett action figure, as well as also prototype Sam Hain, just to name a few. The chapter does run a little short, but then again, so did Extreme Ghostbusters, so moving on. Then we have Chapter 6, which is focused on the modern era. These are things like Stay Puft Marshmallow Man's actually becoming a reality, and the Legion-based comic book series. We also see tie-ins like the Krispy Kreme promotion that was ran a couple years ago. And I must say, I've really been enjoying the book up until now, but this is where it kind of took a bit of a nosedive for me. Both the Minimates line and the Mattel line is just drastically overlooked. I know the Mattel line wasn't everybody's favorite, but it actually only stretched out for 2 pages. And when it came to the standard line, the only characters we actually got to see in photo form was the Peter Venkman figure and the Egon Spangler figure. It just seems like there's a lot of content that's being skipped over here, when, especially with the real Ghostbusters line, it was just nitpicked for almost every item that came out during that era. And Chapter 7 is the future of the Ghostbuster toys, which is a little bit outdated now. I do realize that, it's written in, then it goes to editing, and then it gets published. But there's so many things that are coming out, or have just come out, that are not in this book. Chapter 7 really just talks about the first 2 Ghostbuster Lego sets, and the Diamond Select toy line. If you guys haven't checked that line out yet, I mean, it's incredible. And that's it. That's the book. Do I recommend it? Well, I mean, if you're a Ghostbuster collector, hence the name of the book, Ghostbuster Collectibles, you're probably going to buy it no matter what. Because you're a collector, right? You just buy things. I mean, that's what I do. I just buy things. It has no Ghost logo on it. I buy it. But just note, in terms of rare facts or information about the figure line, there's not too much there. I mean, casual fans may notice something like the Slimer toothpaste from the real Ghostbuster era that they just didn't know existed. I mean, that's a pretty obscure item. But myself personally, I didn't really get anything new out of it, but it's actually a pretty cool reference book for me. At least everything up until the recent years of the book. Because like I said, it started off, it was on fire, you had so many items and products and everything. And then by the end there, it just seemed like maybe they were in crunch time and they just had to get the book done and finished and pushed out. So they kind of went a little short on a couple of chapters. But if you'd like to check out the book Ghostbusters Collectibles by Scott MacNabb, the links are right down below in the description on where and how you can buy it. And if you guys don't mind, I got a lot of reading to catch up on, so we'll see you guys next time.